The healing power of embracing your scars. The first time I heard Isis Love speak about embracing scars as a source of power, something shifted in the atmosphere. Not the polite performative shift that happens when someone says something moderately insightful. No, this was the kind of shift that happens when truth so raw and necessary enters a room that everyone collectively holds their breath. Isis Love isn't just a voice in the growing movement helping Black women reclaim their right to softness. She's a revolutionary force, dismantling generations of harmful narratives with each word she speaks. Her work has touched thousands, transforming how women approach healing, vulnerability, and self acceptance in a world that often demands superhuman resilience from Black women while denying them the space to simply be human. We've been taught that our scars make us damaged, she told me during our interview, her eyes holding a fierceness that contradicted the gentleness in her voice. But what if they actually make us distinctive? What if they're not flaws, but rather the very features that make our stories worth telling? There was something magnetic about the way she leaned forward when she spoke, as if physically pushing her truth into the space between us. But what struck me most wasn't just what she said, it was how the energy in her voice changed when she distinguished between being broken and being fractured. Most of us aren't broken, Isis emphasized, her intensity palpable. We're fractured, and fractures can heal if given the right care. This distinction isn't just semantic, it's revolutionary. When something breaks, the pieces scatter. They become disconnected, sometimes lost forever. But when something fractures, the pieces remain connected, even if barely. There's still structural integrity, there's still hope. How many of us walk around believing we're irreparably broken when we're actually just fractured? How many of us have internalized the message that our wounds define us rather than refine us? The data is sobering. Black women experience disproportionate rates of stress, anxiety, and depression, while simultaneously being the demographic least likely to receive adequate mental health support. We're expected to be strong for everyone else while rarely being asked, but who's being strong for you? This expectation of perpetual strength isn't just exhausting, it's dehumanizing. It turns us into caricatures rather than complex individuals deserving of tenderness and care. Sabrina, host of the Hood Soft Life podcast, knows this reality intimately. Growing up surrounded by generational trauma and limited mental health resources, she internalized the message that vulnerability was weakness. Toughness wasn't just valued, it was required for survival. I thought therapy was for white people, she shared candidly on her podcast. I thought journaling was a luxury I couldn't afford. I thought setting boundaries would make me selfish. These beliefs weren't random. They were carefully constructed responses to a world that often punishes Black women for prioritizing their own well being. But something remarkable happened when Sabrina began challenging these narratives. She started therapy, she began journaling, she joined online communities focused on affirmations specifically for Black women. And slowly, the armor she'd worn for protection began to feel more like a prison. The day I realized I could be both soft and strong was the day I truly began to heal, she reflected. Today, Sabrina's podcast serves as a resource hub for women with similar backgrounds. She mentors young listeners through workshops that reframe softness as power rather than weakness in professional spaces. Her impact extends far beyond individual transformation. She's shifting community conversations around femininity among Black professionals nationwide. But individual healing, while powerful, isn't enough. We need collective spaces where vulnerability is not just permitted, but celebrated. This understanding drove the creation of Hey Sis, Let's Talk, a sisterhood focused podcast that emerged during the pandemic when isolation threatened to unravel the sense of community many Black women relied upon for support. As traditional support systems crumbled under the weight of social distancing, the founders recognized an opportunity to build something new, something that could bridge physical distance while fostering emotional closeness. They created an inclusive platform where women of all ages could speak openly about their pain points, from the emotional scars left by isolation to the opportunities for collective upliftment through business networking and shared experiences. What began as small virtual meetups has evolved into countywide forums drawing hundreds each month. These gatherings aren't just about commiseration, they're about practical resource sharing, mutual encouragement, and intergenerational mentorship. The impact has been profound. Members report higher engagement with one another outside digital spaces. Several local businesses have been founded or have collaborated through relationships sparked in these forums. Perhaps most significantly, participants express greater willingness to discuss personal challenges openly without fear or shame. This model is now being replicated in other cities seeking culturally responsive wellness solutions in the aftermath of COVID 19. It's a testament to what becomes possible when we create spaces where healing is a communal rather than solitary endeavor. But what about professional environments where vulnerability often feels most risky? This is where the work of Breaking Black podcast hosts Tina G, Fancy Arlie, and Janine Hartman becomes particularly relevant. Their show tackles the double standards facing working professionals who identify as people of color during their pursuit of soft living amid societal pressure. We're expected to be twice as good to get half as far, Tina G noted in a recent episode. And that pressure creates this impossible standard where we feel we can't afford to show any weakness, any uncertainty, any humanity. The podcast focuses on daily affirmations like, I am enough, while debunking myths around success and femininity through candid storytelling and interviews with leaders who've navigated similar terrain. They encourage listeners not just to survive, but to thrive emotionally, even when fractured by microaggressions or workplace setbacks. All three hosts previously worked corporate jobs where they felt unseen and unheard until they united their voices through podcasting, a move that allowed them and their guest space to both process pain and celebrate progress collectively rather than alone. The show has attracted sponsorships from DEI focused brands, specifically looking to support authentic conversations around race, gender, and emotional wellness among rising leaders and professionals of color networks nationwide. It helps normalize dialogue around emotional intelligence and self compassion throughout broader industry sectors traditionally resistant to such topics. What these stories illuminate is something Isis Love emphasized repeatedly in our conversation. Self love isn't just a nice to have, it's a prerequisite for healing. You cannot love what you do not accept, she said, and you cannot accept what you do not acknowledge. For many Black women, self acceptance has been complicated by stereotypes and societal pressures that make self love difficult. The strong Black woman trope, while seemingly positive, often functions as a straitjacket that denies us the full range of human emotion and experience. Learning new forms of medicine, from affirmations to supportive sisterhoods, becomes crucial on the path toward holistic healing. These aren't indulgences, they're necessities. As Isis Love puts it, your healing isn't selfish, it's sacred. This perspective challenges the notion that caring for ourselves comes at the expense of caring for others. In reality, the opposite is true. When we heal, we become more available, not less, to those who need us. Our capacity for compassion expands rather than contracts. The soft girl era that Isis Love champions isn't about abandoning strength, it's about redefining it. It's about recognizing that true power lies not in pretending to be invulnerable, but in acknowledging our wounds and healing anyway. Not in spite of our scars, but because of them. Every scar tells a story of survival, she reminded me. Every fracture that heals makes you stronger at the broken places. This wisdom isn't new. Our grandmothers knew it, our great grandmothers lived it. Somewhere along the way, in our rush toward progress and perfection, we forgot the ancient truth that healing isn't linear and strength isn't the absence of weakness. I want to leave you with this. In a world that profits from your exhaustion, rest is resistance. In a culture that demands your silence, your voice is revolution. In spaces that expect your perfection, your authenticity is power. Your scars are not mistakes to be hidden. They are evidence of battles fought, lessons learned, and wisdom earned. They are the places where light enters you, illuminating paths forward, not just for yourself, but for everyone who witnesses your journey. Tonight, I challenge you to stand before your mirror and truly see yourself, not as the world has told you to be, but as you actually are. Look at each scar, each fracture, each imperfection. And instead of turning away in shame, lean in with compassion. Say to yourself out loud, this is where I have been. This is what I have survived. This is what makes my story uniquely mine. Then ask yourself, what medicine have I been denying myself? What healing have I been postponing? What softness have I been afraid to claim? Because here's the truth that Isis Love's work makes so clear. When Black women, when any of us claim our right to heal, to be both soft and strong, vulnerable and resilient, scarred and sacred, we don't just transform ourselves, we transform the world. The revolution we've been waiting for isn't just in the streets, it's in our hearts, it's in our homes, it's in how we choose to see ourselves and care for one another. It begins the moment we decide that our healing matters, not because we need to be fixed, but because we deserve to be whole. So embrace your scars, honor your fractures, claim your medicine. Your healing isn't just personal, it's political. Your joy isn't just pleasure, it's power. And your story, with all its beautiful imperfections, isn't just worth telling, it's worth celebrating.